Vasquez is that deal that helps out. Like, you avoid hitting those arbitration numbers. But some other guy, Tyone, I think Tyone would be the next guy to kind of discuss a long-term deal, like some kind of team-friendly extension maybe, hopefully.
Right, and that was the next thing I was going to get into as well. Like, you're talking that, but there's probably going to be some extensions coming up here by some people, and maybe Tyone is. I don't know if Trevor Williams, maybe we'll need to see another year from him, which
I was just going to say, I was going to ask you that, DiNardo. Would you extend Trevor Williams? Right now?
I don't think.
You want to see another year. That's what I would say.
I think you could say, I don't know if you really get a bargain still with him, because he's coming off like a remarkable season. This might be the highest point of his career.
Right.
This probably isn't the time to extend him. Think about Polanco. He kind of struggled and then he signed. It was he wasn't going to sign, it seemed like, and then he was struggling. He was like, maybe I should get some money. So the deal could probably be friendlier if he stays, healthy or such. But, he wasn't coming off like a remarkable season, and then we had to sign him at his peak, and that's what I can kind of see out of Williams. Like, you're signing him at probably the best season he's going to have. So,
yep.
You're going to pay top dollar, essentially. I would just rather go another year, see what he's got next year, and then decide if you even want to offer him an extension, let alone pay him, off of a 3.11 ERA season.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, he's at his highest point right now. So if you extend him, how much of a value are you really getting? He's probably going to want a decent deal. But then if you wait a year and he stinks and he regresses, then you don't want him. So it's like then you don't even sign him. So
and how do you view him?
Right. Then you're even more confused.
If you don't view him as a guy who's like a 3.11 ERA, like an ace type of 1 or 2 pitcher, you don't want to pay him that. So if you view him more as a back end, you know what I'm saying? Like, I view him more as like a number 4 starter, number 5, a really good number 5 starter, but more like a number 4 starter.
Right.
And I'm not going to pay him for, 1, 2, 3 starter, money at this point in time. And he's coming off of a number 1 starter, numbers. So, no, I'd rather let him go another year. It comes back down to earth a little bit and then decide that, okay, well, at least he's still better than number 4. So I'm more confident. So maybe he's better than number 4. I'll sign him. Let's get him locked up. But at least, now he's coming off like a 3.5 ERA or 3.6, and it's more reasonable. I don't know. I just think, I don't think you really look in discussing signing him long term now. But Tyone, absolutely. Tyone, even though he's coming off a really good season, that's what I expect of Tyone. I look at him as a top of the lineup guy. You know what I mean? So I'm not shocked that he had this type of season. So that's a guy that I am looking to sign long term, and if it's this season, absolutely.
Yeah, Tyone definitely. And then the only other guy I think that you could see maybe a talking extension is Josh Bell, though. I don't know. They may wait. They may wait on that. But you think about it. Bell's been good, but he's been such a bizarre first 2 years, and defense has been not great at first. But then it's are you really going to go out in free agency and pick up a first baseman bat that's better than what Bell's kind of been doing offensively? I don't know.
So here's a thought, Ryan. Right. So the point of doing these extensions is to take some of the free agent years away, right? Mm-hmm. Sign them to a team-friendly deal. You they're making guaranteed money now, for the trade-off of here's some of my free agent years. If Josh Bell were to become a free agent when his time's available, guys like Marte, guys like Polanco, they're getting, $11 to $14 million deals on them years. Do you think a guy like Josh Bell would probably sign for that, if not less, the way his path maybe is going? Do you see that being a bargain at that point in time? And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if you really do, because is it really worth the trade-off? You know what I mean? You could potentially pick up a Josh Bell for a 2-year, $15 million deal, possibly, the way his, career is going. So I don't know if you really do that. I guess it, again, goes into what do you believe in Josh Bell, and I had more expectations. You see flashes, but overall, it's just like you said, it's kind of just been meh. You see things there, but it hasn't produced.
And I think that's why you ultimately will see the wait and see game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with you.
You have him for,
and again, we have a new hitting coach coming on away, so that might help.
Right. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
if
don't
Josh
know who
Bell's
it is.
really,
But...
extension worthy at this point.
Right. What about Diaz? Diaz would be one, like I mentioned, the Cervelli thing. Cervelli becomes a free agent after 2019. So Diaz would be like the next kind of, he's the next catcher in waiting. Now, if they're not sold on him as a starting catcher, I mean, I guess you could always discuss like a 1-year deal or something with Cervelli after next year, but I don't know. I mean, Cervelli hits free agency. He's not, he's not a spring chicken. He's had the injury problems. I don't really know if you bring him back, and I don't really know what he gets in the open market. I mean, after next year, he'll basically be 34 in his 2020 season. So, I mean, he's not really getting a big free agent deal probably at 34 for a catcher unless he's going to go play DH.
Well, I was going to say, one thing is, right, he's 34, but the other thing is he going to even be a catcher then? That who knows at this point in time.
So that's maybe you talked that Diaz extension.
Well, I don't know. That's my thing about Diaz. So the thing about Diaz is kind of weird is like he's in the mindset of rookies. He's not a spring chicken either. So that might play a little bit of a part like on the Pirates side. I mean, the guy is 27 years old. He will be a free agent in 2023. Like you're pretty much going to have him through his prime years.
That's a good point.
So I don't know if you really need to extend him because just let him go at that point in time,
Right, just let it ride it
since
out.
You don't really have a whole lot on him to know what he is. I'm kind of cool, right? Just let him ride out.
You're a lot of Chad Cool tonight.
Except for my fantasy football team. I'm not cool with that.
Did Kamara score again?
Probably. Scored at the half.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that's basically like the payroll's sitting, like I said, right now about 76 million estimated. Dickerson's another one, DiNardo. I mean, Dickerson is a free agent after next year. After 2019.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying extend him, but I'm saying if he's making the projected total was 8.4 this year. I mean, that's another $8 million that comes off the books. So yeah, like if I'm the Pirates and I'm
I see what you're saying. You're right. Like
I'm not necessarily saying extend him. I'm just looking at like the money available. Like if I'm the Pirates right now and the right deals on the table, like I'm going to go and spend that money because you do have nearly with Cervelli, Nova, and Dickerson. It's like $28 million coming off the books, you would say, going into 2020. So you'd be back down. Even if you were at $100 million, even with some salaries rising, you're probably going to cut payroll $15-20 million still, just losing those guys. So I hope that they're not conservative in free agency. Obviously not something like last year. I mean, last year where they didn't sign anybody, but we also saw free agency across baseball was something we've never seen before last year. I mean, it was down everywhere. Nobody wanted to spend anything, and it was kind of justified by what the performances were from most of the players. So it was pretty much justified. Now this year, I think it'll be different. But if I'm the Pirates, I'm not sitting back. If the right player that I want there, I'm gonna be aggressive. So we'll see. Yeah.
You got to spend wisely. Got to spend smart. But I think they can spend, and I don't think $20 million is egregious. They might get close to $100 million. It's back to where they were. But, again, realistically, can they do it? I think so. $50 million. It's one free contract. You go out there and sign somebody to a 4-year, $50 million deal. That's free. That's free. So now you go and you spend and do the rest of the payroll. So right, I don't think it's going to hurt the Pirates, for next year and again long term because they still have that flexibility. Just as you mentioned, that's $28 million coming off the books in 3 players, which is really good. That's good for the Pirates. But it also speaks. They have a core per se, and they can build upon it. And the next year, $28 million is coming off. They can still re-up, further. So and the thing is too, like. With these guys that are coming off the books, you see clear replacements and cheap ones. Diaz, Keller. Now the outfield, maybe not a clear one yet, but there's definitely a lot of depth back there in AAA. But, it's not like I'm worried. It's not like, okay, well, if Diaz goes off the books, I got to find and pay another catcher $10 million. You don't see that. So you can reallocate those dollars elsewhere where it may be needed in those next few years. So, yeah, I look at this team as a team that can spend next year. And, there is a future if it's done correctly.
Right. Yeah, I like it. Like I said, they're set up with that core, with the pre-arb guys. That are already producing. These guys are major leaguers already and producing. So it's going to help them out and in free agency, hopefully this next year. Speaking of free agency, DiNardo, if you want to transition into our other segment, other main topic of the show, trick or treat. It's Halloween, DiNardo, this week.
Trick or treat. I do, but you know what? I want to do something first.
Uh-oh.
Which we forgot.
That sounds about
right. Something happened this week, Ryan.
Oh, something did happen.
Yeah. I said I wanted to bring that up, and we totally just dismissed it.
Well, I had to get in that I'm beating you in fantasy football.
Yeah, of course. And this
couldn't forget that.
Probably isn't the best transition in the world, but had we done this before, first and then gone to the rest of the stuff, would have made sense. But Yeah. So we've tended and talked, throughout this whole thing about DiNardo's dugout. We've mentioned how it's no longer a thing, and I said it's no longer a thing because there's something in the background going on, a bit bigger. I want to put more time into it. Well, finally, Ryan, I can talk, and I know you know me as well as anyone. This has been killing me on the inside. I'm just like that kid that has a secret and wants to tell the whole world, but knows my parents will smack and beat my ass if I do. And that's nice. What Geddes and Tong and Herman would have done had I done it. So, anyways, if you haven't noticed or seen, we created a podcast network.
What?
And actually, Ryan, we're part of it. we made the cut.
Oh, I didn't get that memo.
No. So if you didn't notice or see, there's been something in the works. Now, I've had this idea for a little over a year now. But more or less trying to come up with a way to make it tangible. And that's where our boys Tong and Herman also was part of the Champion Sports Network that you were a part of.
He was.
So we came up with the Pod Hub Network. And it's a really great idea. What we're doing is we're focusing on markets individually, cities individually. And Ryan, it's something we've been approached with before about a network. You see a network and, they tell you, we want you to be part of it. And you just don't see any opportunities to grow. It's like, oh, great. So there's a baseball network, right? And every team's going to be covered. But it's like, how am I going to grow from all your Mets fans or your Yankees fans? No one wants to listen to my shit,
Right.
So the whole idea is we're targeting Pittsburgh and Jacksonville right now. So if any of you listening, if you guys have a podcast or know anyone who does a podcast, wants to get on a network or such, hit us up at Pod Hub Network, podhubnetwork.com. But yeah, we're definitely looking for talent out there and advertisers. But I think this is a great way to deal and help podcasters grow.
Yeah, and I think, and I love this too. And like you said, you've known about this for a while. I haven't been on the forefront of it, but I've been aware of what's going on. And I think a lot of this started, DiNardo, with sort of the reason why we started the North Shore 9 way back when, especially the podcast, was the local media, local radio, and everything in Pittsburgh is just so terrible. And we started the North Shore 9 and the podcast as an alternative to that. Here's two fans that are giving their opinions. We're not just the flagship station. We're not just trying to give you the Pirate front office line, or we're not just trying to give you we hate the Pirates because, Jason Bay blew me off in an interview 10 years ago. Some of the media members are biased. We're just giving our opinions, and we wanted to throw that alternative out there. And we have some guys, speaking of Mike in Illinois, who was always he's tweeting the fan trying to get rid of Pony and Cook and get DiNardo and Ryan on there.
Right.
But that's ultimately what Pod Hub, I feel like that's the reason why it was set. It's an alternative to, this regular talk radio or sports radio. And, and it gives podcasters that chance to be heard and put them on a good platform. And, who knows where it can go? Like things like, like I know we've talked live